is with great sorrow that I address you here this evening so early in the program. As those of you who were on hand with us last night will realize, we had a tragic accident and one of our competitors has lost his life. He was 37-year-old Ken Wilkinson. He had an accident in our modified division. He left this speedway with some very serious injuries, as we told you earlier in the night. And although we still do not have the full report from the hospital yet, we do know that we feel he's succumbed to some internal and perhaps neck injuries. There are a lot of us walking around here with some heavy hearts today, and we know you join us in that. And we'll ask you to join us in a moment of silence at this time in memory of Ken Wilkinson from Turner, Maine. Thank you all very much. Bruce.
Ladies and gentlemen, at intermission time, the drivers will be taking up a collection for the Ken Wilkinson family. So if you wish to make a contribution to the family of Ken Wilkinson, you will have that opportunity as drivers will pass amongst you in the grandstand. And certainly our heartfelt sympathy goes out to the family of Ken Wilkinson. First race of the evening is entering the track at turn 3. This is the first qualifying heat for the Limited Sportsman division, the lower point Limited Sportsman cars and drivers who are eligible for the main event. The lowest point cars will be out a little later on in a semi-feature event. This first qualifying heat in the Limited Sportsman, 12 cars will qualify for the main event, and the rest will need to run in a consolation event. Assistant starter Junior Niles looking for a nice even start. He didn't like the looks of that start. Green flag as the cars get to the fight straight, and it is the 30 of Joe Green jumping into a quick lead and a narrow lead over Dave Oliver in the 94. 3 wide racing down the backstretch into the 3-turn as Steve Perry tries to work the outside to his advantage, and it looks like he just may do that. Hard to run the outside groove, particularly early in the evening, but Steve Perry does a nice job to work his way 3 wide and works his way up to 4th spot. Gene Terrio, the number 3 man, and your leader now has a serious challenge on the outside. Joe Green in the number 30 being challenged now by Dave Oliver. Oliver goes a little wide, tries to regroup in the front stretch. They race side by side into the 1-turn. Green to the inside with a slight advantage. Then comes Oliver. Now the 3rd place challenge is Perry as he gets around the 41 of Gene Terrio to work his way into 3rd spot. Remember, only 12 cars to qualify in this Limited Sportsman first qualifying heat of the evening. The last place qualifier right now is the number 3. That would be Mike Mayetta Jr. Oliver now has got to run the outside groove, and he's trying to make it work as he works to the outside of Perry and looks down to the outside of Joe Green. Oliver with no choice but to run that outside groove. Top 3 cars have put a little distance on the 41 of Gene Terrio now with a challenge to the outside. The rookie Phil Weeks in the number 19 works to the outside of Gene Terrio to try to take over the 4th place position, as does Phil Weber in the 79. Jim Burt gets crossed up in the 3 and 4 turn. Cars tangle in the 4 turn. Takes about a half a dozen to 7 cars. We'll have to see if those cars are able to refire and keep us under green. If not, we will be under a caution flag. Yellow flag is in the air as 2 of the cars are unable to refire and will be to a restart at lap 6 of this first qualifying heat of the evening in the Limited Sportsman division. That's 027158 or 024. We are ready to restart this first qualifying heat at turn 4. Joe Green on the pole, and the green flag is in the air. 3 wide racing down the front stretch as Gene Terrio jumps back a position and advances from 4th to 3rd right on the start. Car out of shape in the 2 turn is Balestria in the 42. He's able to refire, and that keeps us under green. Meanwhile, Joe Green leads the way in the number 30. Officials have informed us that there was a jump on the original start by the number 30, and he will be penalized one position at the conclusion of the race. He is receiving a lot of pressure now by Dave Oliver in the 94 and Steve Perry in the 87 as they work tandem to the rear bumper. Now Perry works to the outside of the number 30 of Joe Green down the backstretch. Steve Perry in the 87 as we approach the halfway mark. Assistant starter Junior Niles with a cross-checkered flag says halfway mark. Perry with a slight advantage as they cross the start-finish line, and Joe Green fights back on the inside. Side by side down the backstretch with a slight advantage to the 3-turn by Perry in the 87. Green is right back on the hammer on the inside, and they're side by side out of turn 4. Remember, only 12 cars to qualify. At the present time, it's Kevin Buck in the 25, your last qualifier. All of the drivers want to qualify in their qualifying heat and avoid the consi if they possibly can. Steve Perry now has put some distance on Joe Green and Dave Oliver as he takes command of the first qualifying heat, put some distance on the second and third place cars. Mike Mayetta Jr. on the move on the outside in the number 3 as he works to the outside of the 79 of Phil Weber and the 19 of Weeks. Young Mike Mayetta in his sophomore year, a rookie last year, and an impressive runner in his first year in the limited sportsman division, looking to follow in his dad's footsteps. Working now right over the white stripe as he tries to mount a challenge to the second place contender, Dave Oliver in the 94. Looks like the 91 is the last qualified car. 2 flags in the air, 2 laps to go for the 87 of Steve Perry. The 94 of Oliver receives a strong challenge now from the number 3 of Mike Mayetta Jr. Robbie Dorr on the move on the outside now in the 23, as is Mark Field in the 72. White flag will be in the air, meaning 1 lap to go. Oliver gets out of shape. Something wrong with the 94 as he has to coast to the outside. Second place now in the hands of young Mike Mayetta Jr. as he looks to the outside of the 87. Last lap as they come to the checkered flag in the air for Steve Perry as he manages to hold off the hard-charging Mike Mayetta Jr. Then comes Robbie Dorr, Joe Green, and the 72 of Mark Field. Got a car stopped at the entrance of pit road. All the drivers negotiate around the 94 of Dave Oliver. Tough break for Oliver as something quit on the 94, and he just had to coast to the outside, and he will be back in the consolation event if at all possible. A nice round of applause for the winner of the first qualifying heat of the evening, Steve Perry. Next out of pit road will be the first qualifying heat for the late model sportsman. The number 1 is Kenny Lund, the 32 Joe Bowser, the 28 is Ken McLeod, the 17 Al Bursett, the 98 Carl Mo Latame, and the 40 Mitch Brown, and it may very well be his dad Jim Brown. Looking for a start out of turn 4 is Eddie Walsh with a green flag in the air. Young Kurt Gary jumps into a quick lead from the outside front row. Have a father-son team running in this qualifying heat. The leader is the son, that's Kurt Gary, and his dad is behind the wheel of the 66, running right now in 4th place. Bobby Babb looks to the outside of Gary Pulsifer in the 27. Bobby Babb is in the number 4, the Hall implement log. Babb logging number 4, a strong runner early on in the year. Jumped out to a quick lead in the opening day feature and then experienced some mechanical problems. Had to take the car to the pit area and worked his way all the way back up to 4th. And an impressive showing, a little bit of tough luck, but everybody's looking for the number 4 to be a strong contender as he works the outside of number 3 position, that is Jim Gary in the 66. Babb right out over the white line. Once again experiencing some problem. Early on in the evening, a problem in the number 4, and he's headed to the pit area. Gary Pulsifer now works to the back bumper of your leader, the 88 Kurt Gary. Then comes Jim Gary, Kenny Lund in the number 1, in a side-by-side battle shaping up between the 28 of Ken McLeod and the 56 of Andy Lude. Flagman Eddie Waltz says it'll be halfway next time by. 5 down and 5 to go for the first qualifying heat in the late model sportsman division. And it's Kurt Gary, a youngster out of Limerick, Maine, following in his dad's footsteps, a veteran driver for many years here at Beech Ridge Motor Speedway and other short tracks around the Northeast. Gary Pulsifer making a bid now to the back of the 88 as he tightens it up just a little bit. Both cars have put some distance on Jim Gary in the 66. Andy Lude on the move on the outside in the 56 as he looks to the outside of Kenny Lund in the Hank Snowman prepared Maine Linoleum #1, a brand new chassis for that team. Flagman Eddie Waltz says it'll be 2 to go next time by. 2 laps to go for your leader, Kurt Gary, as he leads this first late model sportsman event. We just found out from the officials that the 88 jumped the start and will be penalized 1 position as the white flag is in the air, meaning only 1 lap to go. Young Kurt Gary, a little over anxious, jumped the start on the original start and will be penalized 1 position as the checkered flag waves. First qualifying heat will go to the 27 of Gary Pulsifer. Next on the docket will be the second qualifying heat in the limited sportsman. Or as the drivers make an even approach to the front stretch, green flag is in the air. Chuck Haynes trying to get a quick jump and maintain that pole position that he started with, and he does so. He has Terry Brown right at his back bumper. Scott Johnson getting a bit of a tough start off the line, and now he's relegated to a battle for third with Bubba Pelton in the 27. Remember, only 12 cars. Well, Terry Brown gets sideways. That scatters several cars. The 16 gets collected up by 64. Nice job by Joey Eastman of getting the number 8 stop. That'll put us under yellow here before we go anywhere in this first qualifying event. Drivers do a nice job of making what could have been a real pile-up, kind of a moderate skirmish. We're ready to restart this second qualifying heat in the limited sportsman division. Haynes and Scott Johnson on the front row. Green flag is in the air. Chuck Haynes once again trying to jump out on a quick lead over the 61 of Scott Johnson. Terry Brown right to the back bumper of Haynes. Then comes Bubba Pelton as your top 4 cars try to put some distance on Tom Bragg, who's your 5th place runner in the number 48. Scott Johnson working the outside lane, and he must work the outside lane because that inside row is all filled up. Chuck Haynes, your leader. Then comes Terry Brown in the 44, Bubba Pelton in the 27, Scott Johnson in the 61 working the outside lane. Then comes the 5th place runner Tom Bragg, who ran strong last night in the 48. Remember, only 12 cars to qualify. 12 cars to qualify in the second qualifying heat. Some of the high point men, the fast cars at the back of the pack, and they have a lot of ground to make up. Bubba Pelton now makes his way into the outside lane to challenge Terry Brown for second place, and that opens up the inside for Tom Bragg in the 48. 12 cars to qualify in this second qualifying heat. The rest will have to run in the consolation event a little bit later on. Your 12th place qualifier right now is the 16. The 6 of Billy Thompson is your last qualified car at this time. Nice job being done by Chuck Haynes, holding off a lot of pressure at his back bumper. On the inside, it's Terry Brown in the 44, right at the back bumper of Chuck Haynes. Then Bubba Pelton gets a good bite coming out of the 2-turn on the outside, and he's now running to the outside rear quarter of Chuck Haynes, trying to make that outside groove work. Out of the 4-turn once again, he's out into the 3rd groove. Trying to mount a challenge to the 68 of Chuck Haynes. Looks like the number 10 is on the bubble. Your last qualified car right now appears to be the number 10. That's Steve Winslow. Chris Rule down on the inside strike, makes it right back out. The 6 of Billy Thompson beginning to smoke, and hard to tell just where that's coming from, but some problems there in the number 6. As we approach the halfway mark, the cross flags are in the air. Flagman Eddie Walsh indicating we're at the halfway point as Bubba Pelton now at the start-finish line has a bumper ahead. They race side by side through turns 1 and 2, side by side out of the 2 turn down the backstretch. Once again, the 27 of Pelton jumps ahead down into the 3 turn, takes over the lead at lap number 8 of this second qualifying heat of the day. Number 10 is still the last qualified car at this time, and he tangles with a 93 of Danny Palmer, and that slows the whole field down and gets the 51 out of shape, and he spins in the 2 turn. That's Kerry Anderson trying to refire the car that brings out the yellow once again. Kerry Anderson finally refires the 51, but we are under yellow with 9 laps down in this second qualifying heat of the evening for the Limited Sportsman Division. Once again, Flagman Eddie Walsh says the track is clear and the lineup is correct, and we are looking to restart at turn 4 with a tight lineup. The pace setter is Bubba Pelton in the 27. To his outside is Chuck Haynes. 12 cars to qualify from this second qualifying event. The High Point men in the Limited Sportsman Division. Green flag is in the air, and 3 wide, a problem in the 68 car of Chuck Haynes. Perhaps a shifting problem. It appeared as though he just had to coast to the outside, and that gives the lead solely to Bubba Pelton as his challenger had to coast to the pit area. Tough break for Chuck Haynes. Bubba Pelton goes wide, but he hangs on in his lead. Terry Brown is your second place competitor in the 44. Then comes the hard-charging 70 of Jeff Morgan. Tom Bragg's working the outside. Then comes the 78 of Dave Fecto and the 14 of Chris Rule. Bubba Pelton putting a little distance on the second place competitor now. And it looks like the number 54 is the last qualified car at this moment. And now perhaps the 0 is taking over that spot. Next time by, Flagman Eddie Walsh says it'll be 2 laps down for your 2 laps to go, rather, for your leader, Bubba Pelton, in the Protofab Race Cars Casco Bay Yachts Exchange number 27. The hard-charging Bubba Pelton looking to collect up the second qualifying heat of the evening, and he has a strong challenge from Terry Brown and the number 70 of Jeff Morgan. Looks like the 89 of Butch Buzzell is the last qualified car right now as the white flag indicates 1 lap to go. Still Pelton, Brown, Jeff Morgan, Dave Fecto in the 78, Chris Rule in the 14 for your top 5 contenders. Bubba Pelton maintaining about a 2-car length lead as the checkered flag flies. Second qualifying heat of the night goes to Bubba Pelton in the 27. Youngster out of Freeport, Maine, collecting his qualifying heat of the evening, and certainly a car to watch in the main event coming up a little bit later on. Have a nice round of applause as the 27 coasts down to the start-finish line to collect up the checkered flag, and a moment for a pitcher to remember his qualifying heat win here tonight. The 27 sponsored in part by Protofab Race Cars and Casco Bay Yacht Exchange. Next out on the track is the second qualifying heat in the late model sportsman division. In the second qualifying heat in the late model sportsman division, the High Point men are right now in our late model sportsman. Out of turn 4, green flag is in the air, and it's a quick jump by Mike Mayetter as he moves from the outside front row along with Ricky Harrison right to his back bumper. Harrison was running very strong last night, as was the 33, who appears to be on the move on the inside looking for racing room. And he now gets it as the 19 moves to the outside. But Mike Mayetter and Ricky Harrison have put some distance on the battlers for the 3rd place. Now Mike Johnson, then 4th place Jay Johnson as he tangles with Kerry Winslow in the 49, and they're out over the 2-turn. Well, all the cars are moving. That will keep us under green. It's still Mike Mayetta, your leader in the 13. Ricky Harrison in the 85. Then comes Mike Johnson in the 33. Last night's feature winner in this division. Then Barry Babb out of Windsor, the youngster who won opening day in this late model sportsman division. Then the battle shaping up for 5th between two former champions here in the late model division. That's the 37 of Bobby Harrison, the 91 of Bob Randall. It'll be coming to the halfway mark, says flagman Eddie Walsh, out of turn 4 for Mike Mayetta, who gets a lot of pressure now from the 85 of Ricky Harrison at his back bumper. Also a challenge for 3rd now is Barry Babb as he puts the heat to the back bumper of Mike Johnson. Down into the 3-turn, Babb looks to the outside to try to make a race and take over 3rd place. Couldn't quite do it. He settles back to the rear bumper once again of the 33. About a 4-way battle shaping up for 5th place. Bob Randall now works to the outside. Paul Johnson on the move in the 35 on the outside groove also. Black flag going out to Jay Johnson in the 19 as he has some cosmetic work to do to the back end of the 19. 2 to go, says flagman Eddie Walsh. A couple of 2-car battles. Battle up front between the 13 of Mike Mayetta trying to hold off the hard charger in the 85 Ricky Harrison. White flag will be in the air this time by, meaning 1 lap to go. Harrison once again looks to the outside of the 13. Tucks back in again. Barry Babb now works to the outside of the 33, trying to take over 3rd spot down the backstretch. Babb again looks to the outside. Pulls to the outside of the 33 as the checkered flag is in the air for Mike Mayetta. He manages to hold off Ricky Harrison, and the 33 of Mike Johnson manages to hold off Barry Babb. Then comes Bob Randall rounding out the top 5 in the 2nd qualifying heat of the evening for the late model sportsman. Flagman Eddie Walsh says the track is clear and the lineup is correct, and we're ready for the qualifying heat in the modified division. On the pole is Pete Rondo, and to his outside Kevin Tobias as they come down for a start out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air. Rondo jumps into a quick lead over Tobias. Right to his back bumper is the number 3 of Lou Weatherby. Tommy Oliver working to the inside of the number 90, as does Mike Mayetta in the 16. The inside groove, a bit of an advantage early in the evening. And those cars on the inside single file it down the backstretch. Pete Rondo, Lou Weatherby, Tommy Oliver, Mike Mayetta now looks to the outside, Willie Elliott on the inside. The top 5. Bobby Gahan trying to find racing room up from the back of the pack, as does David Pinkham. Starting again on that outside lane was a bit of a disadvantage and no place to go, but wait until there's a chance to move back down inside, and that may not be until quite a few cars get by, and that's exactly what happened to David Pinkham. Meanwhile, up front, it's still Pete Rondo, Lou Weatherby, Tommy Oliver, and Mike Mayetta as they put some distance on the 5th place competitor. That is last night's feature winner, Willie Elliott, in the Hannaford Racing Engines prepared number 1. Flagman Eddie Walsh says halfway down. 5 down, 5 to go in this qualifying heat for the modifieds. Pete Rondo still holding off Lou Weatherby. Lou Weatherby, a feature winner opening day here at Beech Ridge Motor Speedway. Tommy Oliver, a returnee, driver of modifieds for a number of years. Took a bit of time off and now back to his original home track. And of course Mike Mayetta, who does double duty in the late models and the modifieds. Already a feature winner also in the modified division. Pete Rondo doing a nice job of holding off several high-powered modifieds at his back bumper. Experiencing a tire problem last night, running very strong up front. Looking for a change of luck. He's had engine problems, he's had tire problems. Lou Weatherby now dives to the inside as the 5 moved to the outside. Couldn't quite do it, had to put the brakes on there in the 2-turn. That brings Oliver to his outside. White flag will be in the air this time by 1 lap to go for the modifieds in their qualifying heat. Once again, Weatherby looks inside, a puff of smoke as he backs off and gets back on the hammer. Looks to the outside of the 5, and Oliver comes to the inside as Weatherby moves to the outside. Cars side by side at the line. Hard to tell. We'll let the officials call it, but it looked like a hard charge from Tommy Oliver might have put him in a second spot. We'll have to wait and see. Oliver might not have seen the flag. He stayed right on it till he got about halfway down the backstretch. But your winner is young Pete Rondo out of Saco, Maine, as he coasts down to collect up the flag and a pitcher. Nice round of applause for Pete Rondo in the Ken Matthews own number 5, sponsored in part by the Portland Pump, the Team Auto Body, Riverside Trailer in Winnebago. We're ready for a start out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air. The number 12 working the outside, trying to take over the lead. That is Tim Gendron, battling with the 99 of Jim Culprit. Gendron works the outside to his advantage and takes over the lead between the 3 and 4 turn. Gendron, your leader in the number 12. Then comes the 99 of Jim Culprit. Third place is held by the 95 of Roger Williams. Then comes the 66 of Trent Smith and the 96 of John Maycomber. Cars on the back end of that lineup. The 7 is driven by Gary Hopper. The 114 is Dan White. The 77, Jeff Libby. The 10... Tim Gendron has run away from the second place car. The 99 appeared to slow down and then pick up again, experience some sort of mechanical problem. Roger Williams now the second place contender, but he has a lot of ground to make up as the number 12 has just kind of run away. 34 off over the 4 turn is Russ Johnson. He keeps the car under power, keeps us under green. Jim Culprit spins in the 4 turn. So far, everybody has been able to avoid him. That brings out the yellow. Evidently, there's something there on the speedway. Somebody's lost some fluid. Cars are spinning in it. That brings out the yellow flag, and safety crew will be out to take care of the slippery substance there, that making it difficult for drivers to negotiate the turn 4 area. Is clear and we're ready for a restart as the Beretta from Pape Chevyland, our official pace car, makes its way down infield pit road. We're ready to restart this semi-feature with 4 laps down. Tom Bragg on the pole, and he has Roger Williams to his outside. Out of turn 4, green flag is in the air. Side by side at the stripe, it's Tim Gendron in the 12, Roger Williams in the 95, still side by side as they race the 1 and 2 turn. Now Tim Gendron once again takes over the lead as he did prior to this restart. John Maycomber in the 96 also in the move as he challenges for third, working to the outside of Trent Smith in the 66. Smith gets a little out of shape, collects it back up, but that costs him another position as the 56 of Robert Bodwell takes over position number 4. Cars battling for point positions here in this limited Sportsman Semi-Feature. Everybody trying to collect up all the points they possibly can. Front 2 cars once again have put some distance on the 3rd and 4th place competitors. The leader is Tim Gendron, followed by Roger Williams in the 95. Then some distance back, your 3rd place competitor is John Maycomber, and at his back bumper in the 56 is Robert Bodwell. 5th place is held by the number 60. That is Lloyd Washburn, the top 5 in our semi-feature. Jeff Libby gets out of shape into the infield, seems to have it back underway, perhaps experiencing some mechanical difficulty in the 77. Way in the outside groove here, out of turn 4, the number 1 is Dave Sprague, trying to make up ground, as is Doug Shores in the 107. .107 ran strong last night as he negotiates the outside groove, moving up another spot. But the front 2 cars are just pulling away. 12, Tim Gendron, with a lot of power under the hood of the number 12, and the 95 of Roger Williams just seeming to be able to pull the rest of the field. A three-way battle shaping up for third spot as Bodwell looks to the inside, taps the back bumper of Maycomber. Maycomber does a nice job of straightening the car up, hangs on to third place over Bodwell in the 56. Then comes Washburn looking to the outside of Bodwell now. Doug Shores has made it all the way up to sixth spot. A lot of distance made up by the 107 as he looks for racing room now behind the 56 of Bodwell and the 60 of Washburn. Momentarily boxed in is the 107, a car that ran strong last night, looking to advance from his sixth place position, but no place to go right now. Looks for racing room between cars. Down into the one turn there three wide. The 107 makes a nice move between cars and works now looking to the outside of the 56 of Robert Bodwell. Two flags in the air, 2 laps to go in this semi-feature. Maycomber working the outside now and coming onto a slower car. That's going to group the cars up once again, and Bodwell dives to the inside to take advantage of the traffic situation. The 60 of Washburn and the 107 get together. White flag is in the air, meaning 1 lap to go. 1 lap to go. Maycomber sideways out of the four-turn. Does a nice job of collecting the car and hangs on to his position, although Shores works the outside now. White flag in the air. Your leader, number 12, sees the checkered flag fly as he collects the Limited Sportsman Semi-Feature, followed by the 95 of Roger Williams, then the 56 of Bodwell, the 07, the 107 of Doug Shores, and the 60 of Lloyd Washburn for the top 5 in tonight's Limited Sportsman Semi-Feature. As Tim Gendron coasts down to the start-finish line to collect up the flag and the trophy. A nice round of applause for the winner of tonight's Limited Sportsman Semi-Feature. It's young Tim Gendron with a fine run in the number 12. The 2, Brad Layton. The 183, Brad Clements. The 93, Danny Palmer. The 65, Rocky Yargo. The 54, Rick Furnett. The 105, Glenn Reynolds. The 51, Kerry Anderson. The 13, Ed Gallant. 8 is Joe Eastman. 38, Beaver Norton. 88, Mike Field. The 86, Robbie Herrick. The 68, Chuck Haynes. We're ready for a start out of turn 4. Dean Turgeon jumps into a quick lead. And he has Richard Olin at his back bumper and Kevin Durgan to his outside. Last 2 cars in that lineup, the 85 is Scott Chapman and the 16, Don Colbert Jr. The Z28 of Kevin Durgan making his power known here early in the Consolation event as he takes over the lead, and he's followed by current point leader Pee Wee Knight in the 111, also making his way out around the 73 of Dean Turgeon to take the front 2 positions of tonight's Consolation event. 8 cars to qualify from this race and go on to the main event. Cars tangle in the 4-turn as Danny Palmer gets around sideways, and the front end is cleaned right off. The front grille, the bumper. Danny Palmer will have to take the 93 to the pit area. Tough break right here in a very important race for Danny Palmer. He's one of the strong runners in the Limited Sportsman division. Going to take the car to the pit area, as is the 85 of Scott Chapman. Try to make corrections and get right back out here. Only 1 lap down, so hopefully they'll have time enough to do that. We're ready to restart, says flagman Eddie Walsh, with the 2 top contenders in this class on the front row. It's Durgan in the 28, Knight in the 111, bringing the field down. 8 cars to qualify. Flagman Eddie Walsh says, hold it even, gentlemen. We want to start coming out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air. Durgan gets a quick jump. Knight is going to challenge to the outside. Danny Palmer able to rejoin the lineup after his cosmetic work done on his 93. Be interesting to see if he's able to make the long trek up to the top 8 positions. 54 right now would be the last place qualifier in this event. Only 8 cars to qualify, so you keep an eye on him. Brad Layton on the move down the backstretch on the outside, one of the strong runners in the number 2, as he works to the outside of the 69 of Richard Olin into the back bumper of the 64 of Rick Verrill. Also Rick Burnett on the move in the 54, as is Kerry Anderson. All those cars want to be sure to qualify for the main event. They're working the outside groove. Verrill has Layton to his bumper. Then comes Burnett in the 54 and Anderson in the 51. Meanwhile, up front, Durgan and Knight have been able to put a lot of distance on the third place car. Layton looking to challenge for third place as he looks to the outside of Verrill in the 64. Mike Fields has to get on the brakes hard as he makes a hard charge into the 3-turn and come on to a slower car. Looking to qualify for the main event as the cars jockey for position between turns 1 and 2. Rick Verrill doing a nice job. He gets a little sideways between turns 3 and 4, and they're looking to race 3 abreast down the front stretch. Some smoke coming from the number 8, who appears to be the last qualified car at this time. That's Joey Eastman, the last qualified car at this time. Car around sideways on the backstretch. One to the outside wall gets underway. That's the 105 of Glenn Reynolds. And in the infield, the 24. Yeah, both of them get underway, but the yellow flag comes out. The 24 is Danny Bubar. The 105 is Glenn Reynolds. That will bring us to a restart once again with 6 laps down. Flagman Eddie Walsh says the track is clear, the lineup is correct, and we're ready to restart with 6 laps down here in the Limited Sportsman Consolation event. Kevin Durgan on the inside in the Z28, Pee Wee Knight in the 111. Bring the field down to a start out of turn 4. Flagman Eddie Walsh says, hold it even, gentlemen. Pick up the pace. The green flag is in the air. Kind of a slow start. Cars are even right at the stripe. Pee Wee Knight looking to battle to the outside as he takes a slight advantage into turn 1. Cars are side by side at turn 2. Durgan takes a slight advantage as they negotiate the backstretch to turn 3. Pee Wee Knight fights back on the outside, and Rick Burnett is right at the back bumper of Durgan. Knight once again with a slight advantage as they come to the start-finish line and into turn 1. The cars are even. Wheel to wheel out of turn 2 down the backstretch. Flagman Eddie Walsh says it'll be halfway. Next time by, halfway mark. Durgan takes over the lead, and now it's a side-by-side challenge between Rick Burnett in the 54, Pee Wee Knight to the outside. Then comes Kerry Anderson, the number 2 of Brad Layton, who has covered a lot of ground, in the 64 of Rick Verrill as they put some distance on the number 8 of Joey Eastman. 88 is the last qualified car at this moment. That is Mike Fields in the number 88. And Danny Palmer moves up in a 9th spot. Covered a lot of ground after needing to make a pit stop and remove some hanging sheet metal. It'll be interesting to see if Danny Palmer is able to make his way up to that 8th spot. Up front, it is still Kevin Durgan. Then comes Rick Burnett, Pee Wee Knight, Kerry Anderson in the 51, and a side-by-side battle shaping up for 5th spot between Rick Verrill and the number 2 of Brad Layton. Layton slows as they go down the backstretch. Possibly either experiencing some problems in the number 2, or maybe he has just backed off and decided to settle for the spot that he's in. It'll be 2 laps to go next time by. Rick Burnett dives right to the back bumper of the Z28 as they negotiate the 3 and 4 turn. 2 laps to go this time by. Problems in the 183 of Brad Clemens as he takes the car way out wide and appears to be headed through the pit area. Once again, it's Kevin Durgan holding off the hard-charging Rick Burnett as the white flag is in the air, meaning 1 lap to go. Kevin Durgan Rick Frenette in the 54, Pee Wee Knight in the 111, Kerry Anderson in the 51, then comes Rick Verrill in your top 5. And the last qualified car is still the 88 of Mike Field. Checkered flag in the air for Kevin Durgan, picking up the consolation event in the limited sportsman division. And the top 8 once again will advance to the main event to be run just a little bit later on in the evening. Those officials that we remember with a special race for deceased officials are the following. We remember Ken White, Don Kent, Aubrey Bucky Edgecombe, John McCann, Connie Patch, Mike D'Amico Sr., Del Colamy, Robert Doc Christopher, Leon Clow, and Bill Thompson Sr. We also have a special race of which this modified feature will remember the late Robert Bushley Jr. with the running of the traditional Bobby Bushley Memorial Race. These are special racers to the competitors here at the Speedway. At this time, I'll ask you to join the drivers standing on the stripe at the front stretch and ask you to stand and observe a moment of silence as a tribute to these officials and also as a tribute to the young man, Ken Wilkinson. A moment of silence, please. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll ask you to remain standing as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. In the number 5 tonight out of Saco, Maine, it will be Pete Rondo. In the number 90 on the outside will be Kevin Tobias. The number 3 on the inside is driven by Lou Weatherby out of Wyndham. The number 89 on the outside is driven by Spike Manitow. The number 29 on the inside is Tommy Oliver from Scarborough. Remind you that when we get the all clear from the officials, I will ask for your help with the command to start engines. The officials tell us the drivers are set. Drivers, good luck to you all. Now, fans, for those 4 most famous words in auto racing, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Gentlemen, start your engines. We are in readiness for the running of the Bobby Bushley Memorial here on Memorial Day weekend. They'll be looking to the grandstand and a chance for you to send off the modified drivers in their feature event. So we ask you to wave your hat, your hand, light your lighter if you have one. Let these modified drivers know that you appreciate them and you're sending them off in their feature event. The first row occupied by Pete Rondo and Kevin Tobias as they bring the field down to a start out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air and Rondo jumps into a quick lead. Rondo in a quick lead down the backstretch, followed by Lou Weatherby as Lou Weatherby made a good jump into second place. Then comes Tommy Oliver challenging to the inside, taking over third spot. Battle now for fourth with Spike Mattertall to the inside. Kevin Tobias the outside. He takes over the spot, and now it is Mayetta making his move also as the inside groove once again is working a little better for these modified drivers. Lou Weatherby looking to mount a challenge to the back bumper of Pete Rondo, and Tommy Oliver looking to challenge at the back of the number 3. Oliver looks to the inside now, races to the inside of the number 3. Can't quite do it as he has to follow the number 3 through the 2-turn and down the backstretch. Once again, it's a tight battle for that second spot. Lou Weatherby in the number 3, the 29, Tommy Oliver. Then comes Spike Mattertall, the 16 of Mike Mayetta, and defending 2-time champion in the number 61 is David Pinkham for your top 6 cars. Then Willie Elliott and Bobby Gahan along with Scott Watts looking to close it up to the front runners. 5 laps down, and in charge tonight is Pete Rondo. Side-by-side battle shaping up for second place as now Tommy Oliver looks to the outside of the number 3. Couldn't quite do it. Has to settle back in behind the number 3 as he still rides in third spot. Mike Mayetta on the move on the outside now as he works to the outside of the 89. That gives the inside lane to David Pinkham, so Mike Mayetta is going to have to make the outside groove work. Three-way battle shaping up for fourth spot as Spike Mattertall hangs onto that position, but he has David Pinkham at his back bumper, and he has Mike Mayetta working the outside lane. Meanwhile, up front, the number 5 is able to put some distance on the second place competitor, the number 3 of Lou Weatherby. Weatherby trying to find the groove that works the best for number 3, and Tommy Oliver trying to find a way around the number 3 if he possibly can. Mike Mayetta still working the outside. Now he brings it alongside the 89 of Spike Mattertall as they negotiate the 3-turn side-by-side. Side-by-side battle on the front stretch. 89 is Spike Mattertall. The 16 of Mayetta. Mayetta loses the grip just a little bit in the 1-turn. It slides back, and now it's David Pinkham challenging him on the inside. Fast pace being set by young Pete Rondo out of Saco, Maine in the number 5. The Riverside trailer in Winnebago. Number 5, who's experienced some tough luck so far this year, but tonight everything has been going his way. Flightman Eddie Walsh says it'll be halfway next time by. Side-by-side battle shaping up again for the 4th spot as Mike Mayetta works to the outside of Spike Mattertall. They negotiate the 1-turn side-by-side. Still a tight battle for second spot between Lou Weatherby and Tommy Oliver. Mayetta puts a wheel ahead now as they negotiate the 4-turn. Spike Mattertall right back on the hammer side-by-side at the start-finish line. A real battle for that 4th spot. Mayetta trying to make the outside groove work. He takes the advantage down into the 3-turn. Looks like he just might make it this time, although Mattertall fights back on the inside groove. Still in that outside groove. This time Mayetta gets a good bite out of the 2-turn, takes over the 4th spot. He's got a lot of ground to make up. Meanwhile, Tommy Oliver's made it around the number 3 of Lou Weatherby to move into second spot. Tommy Oliver now your second place contender. Lou Weatherby third. Mike Mayetta has fourth place to himself. Then Spike Mattotall and David Pinkham for your top half dozen modifieds, with Scott Watts, Bobby Gahan, and Willie Elliott still trying to make up ground that they lost right at the start of the race and have not been able to close it up. A fast pace being set by the number 5. No restart, and it's going to be tough for those cars coming from the back of the pack, such as Gahan and Willie Elliott. They have a lot of ground to make up. Tommy Oliver appears to be gaining just a little bit now on the number 5. He starts to close it up. Will he have time enough to mount a challenge? It's hard to tell at this point, but he is closing the gap between himself and the number 5 of Pete Rondo. Flagman Eddie Walton says it'll be 5 to go this time by. 5 laps to go for the modifieds in their feature event tonight. And the 29 of Tommy Oliver now working to the back bumper of the number 5 of Pete Rondo. Rondo puts a little distance on again, but in the corners it is Oliver closing it up once again. Looks to the outside of the number 5 now. Tommy Oliver once again at the back bumper of the number 5. Looks to the outside once again down the front stretch. Flagman Eddie Walton says it'll be 2 laps to go next time around. Pete Rondo doing a great job so far tonight. Now he has 2 laps to hold off the hard-charging Tommy Oliver in the number 29. 2 laps to go now, says Flagman Eddie Walsh. Also, Mike Mayetta's covered a lot of ground, and he's looking now to mount a challenge for the 3rd place, which is held by the number 3 of Lou Weatherby. Down into the 3-turn, Tommy Oliver goes to the outside of the number 5. White flag is in the air, 1 lap to go. It's still Pete Rondo in the number 5 holding off the 29. And it's the number 3 holding off 16 for the 3rd place. They're in their final lap. Once again, Oliver looks to the outside of the number 5. Checkered flag is in the air for Pete Rondo. Tommy Oliver, Lou Weatherby just manages to hold off the hard-charging Mike Mayetta in number 16. Then comes defending 2-time champion David Pinkham into 5th place tonight in the running of the traditional Bobby Bushley Memorial. Have a chat with tonight's modified feature winner as he collects up the colors and parades the checkered flag for an opportunity to change his luck tonight. And we'll be going trackside in just a few moments as Pete Rondo parades the flag. The number 5 is sponsored in part by Portland Pump, Team Auto Body, Riverside Trailer in Winnebago. Owners are Ken and Janet Matthews. The car is an 88 Cavalier, and it's young sophomore driver Pete Rondo changing his luck around here tonight. Had tire problems last night. The week before it was engine problems, but tonight everything seemed to work. As he returns the colors to Flagman Eddie Walsh, we will be going trackside in just a moment to Andy Cusack.
Ladies and gentlemen, a nice round of applause for Pete Rondo. Pete, congratulations. A heck of a nice job tonight.
Thank you very much, Andy.
You know, Pete, last night you were right out front throughout that entire modified feature race with just a couple of laps to go. It looked as though you had a mechanical problem with the tire.
Yeah, the tire went down. 3 laps left to go.
That was a 42-lap feature, and you took that one pretty much all the way. Tonight you brought it all the way, and I guess tonight when we lose one in the racing fraternity, it's something that we all feel in our hearts, and I know tonight being appropriately so with the Bobby Bushley Memorial Trophy, your name will join the other names of Wally Prescott, Jeff Stevens, Rick Zemler, Dr. Dick Berggren, a host of other drivers whose names are on this plaque, and yours will join that as well to remain on display here at the Speedway, and I know you've got to be honored about that.
Yes, I'm very honored to be on with the rest of them fine drivers.
Pete, your first place trophy for this evening is presented to you, and I know this is your 2nd career win, is it not?
Yes, 2nd one.
Now, how long have you been racing here at the Speedway? Since
only 9 years. I can't remember the year I started, but 9 years.
9 years now, and actually last year was your first career win ever. You've raced in the Limited Sportsman, Late Model Sportsman, and the Modifieds. Last year was your first win. This makes your 2nd career win. Looking back at the other 2 divisions, how do you reflect on that? Does it seem like a loss that you didn't win in the other divisions?
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to take this long to get into victory lane so often, but We're here now and hope to be back more.
The way the car looks hooked up, I think you're going to be back with us a lot, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, a nice round of applause for Pete Rondo. Bruce?
Thank you, Andy. Flagman Eddie Waltz says the track is clear and we are ready to start tonight's main event for the Limited Sportsman as the Pape Beretta from Pape Chevyland moves to the infield pit road. Joe Green and Steve Perry bring him down to a green flag out of turn 4. Cars are about 4 wide on the start. Something wrong with the 87 of Steve Perry. A tough break as something happened and he had to move right to the outside. Cars tangle in turn 1 and scatter. And 2 or 3 cars unable to pull away from that as the 100 is hung up on the sand bank. That'll bring out the yellow flag and right back to start over again. Flagman Eddie Waltz says the lineup is correct and we're ready once again to start our Limited Sportsman main events. The cars went nowhere as that skirmish happened in the first lap. Joe Green and Steve Perry on the front line once again. Green flag is in the air as the cars come out of the 4-turn. This time Steve Perry gets the jump on Joe Green. And he works the outside lane, tries to get all the way around the 30 of Joe Green. He does so down the backstretch into the 3-turn. Joe Green in second, third place. A battle shaping up between Terrio in the 41 and Colbert in the 91. 91 now makes a dive to the outside. Tight squeeze in turn 1 as all the cars jockey for position. Kevin Buck with a nice move out of the 2-turn down the backstretch as he breaks free, as does Phil Weber in the 79 and Mark Field in the 72 as they all get a good bite on the outside. Steve Perry has put a little distance on Colbert in the 91. And the battle is shaping up for second, third, and fourth as Mark Field is on the move, dives to the inside of the 79, now to the inside of the 25. 25 going way wide. Out in the third and fourth groove, causes him to lose some time. And that gives those cars on the inside a chance to advance. And now it's Mark Field in second place. Phil Weber moves into third. David Colbert in fourth in the 91. Dennis Quinn in the 06 makes a move on the inside, challenging to take over the fifth place position. Fourth place position, rather, is held by Dennis Quinn. Then comes David Colbert, and on the move on the outside is the 44 of Terry Brown. Billy Thompson also working the outside groove, as is Rick Burnett now. Trying to make up ground. They have a long way to go. Those High Point men starting in the back of the pack. Keep your eyes on some of them. Pee Wee Knight has made some ground up, as has Kevin Durgan, and last night's feature winner in this division, the 89 of Butch Buzzell on the move. Cars race 3 wide through the 2-turn and down the backstretch as Billy Thompson negotiates the outside of the 91, and 54 goes to the inside, and they make it work. Pee Wee Knight still on the move on the outside in the 111 as he works the outside of number 19 to advance one position. Sets his sights in the rear bumper of the 51 of Kerry Anderson. Kerry Anderson works to the outside of 91 and down into the 3-turn. 91 fights back on the inside, but Kerry Anderson once again coming out of the 4-turn takes the position. The leaders, meanwhile, have put some distance. Those top 5 cars have put some distance on the rest of the pack and able to pull away as the 72 of Mark Field is in control over Phil Weber. Then comes Dennis Quinn, Steve Perry, and the 44 of Terry Brown. And his caution flag comes out as a car is up against the backstretch wall. That looks like the 19 of Phil Weeks. Will bring us to a restart. Mark Field on the pole. Green flag is in the air, and Mark Field is a strong challenge from Phil Weber in the 79 as they race side by side down into the 1 and 2 turn, followed closely by Dennis Quinn. Then comes John McMullen and Steve Perry, your top 5 cars. High Point men still with a long way to go. Pee Wee Knight on the move as he works 3 wide now down into the 1 turn and makes it work. Advances 2 positions. Keep your eyes on the 111, one of the strong runners here in the Limited Sportsman division. Battle shaping up for second now as Mark Field is able to take first place to himself. Dennis Quinn moves in a second, and he's being challenged by the 79 of Phil Weber and the 87 of Steve Perry. Then a side-by-side battle shaping up between Tom Bragg and John McMullen. Terry Brown looks to make it a three-wide battle now as the 44 looks for racing room. Can't quite do it this time. Has to drop in behind the 100 of John McMullen. Young Mike Mayetta Jr. also advancing on the inside as he races to the inside of McMullen and now to the inside of Rick Frenette out of the four-turn. The number 3 mounts a challenge now, trying to work his way into the top 5. Leaders once again able to put a little distance on the rest of the pack. Mark Field in the 72. Dennis Quinn in the 06. The 79 is Phil Weber. Approaching the halfway mark. Next time by, Flagman Eddie Waltz says, we're at the halfway mark. Something happens to the 72 as he takes it right to the inside. A tough break for Mark Field in the 72 as something must have shut down as he immediately cut to the inside. Something giving out on the 72. A tough break for Mark Field as he was running very strong. That gives the lead over to the 06 of Dennis Quinn. And he is challenged now by Phil Weber in the 79. On the move. Cars on the outside. Keep your eyes on the 3 of Mayetta, the 2 of Layton, the 51 of Kerry Anderson. But up front, it is Quinn. Mayetta trying to make that outside work, as does Kevin Durgan in the Z28. Mike Mayetta Jr. works to the outside of the 54 in the 3-turn. Trying to make the outside lane work. Challenging now, trying to mount a challenge to the outside of Steve Perry. Burnett fights back on the inside and they're side by side down the backstretch. Mayetta once again works to the outside of the 87. Rookie of the year last year. Young man looking to follow in his dad's footsteps. Continues to work that outside lane. Meanwhile, Dennis Quinn is getting a lot of pressure from the 79 of Phil Weber. Mayetta working the outside successfully now as he starts to gain a slight advantage at the start-finish line. Working to the outside of the 87. He'll be coming on a slower car. Does a nice bit of driving to putting his car between the slower car on the outside and the 87 to take over the 3rd spot. A nice bit of driving by young Mike Mayetta in the number 3. Works his way all the way to 3rd spot. Now on the outside, trying to do the same thing. It is the 54, Rick Frenette, working to the outside of Steve Perry as he dives into the 3-turn. Takes over the 4th position. Perry tries to fight back on the inside, but it's the 54, Rick Frenette down the front stretch. Clearly your 4th place contender. The 51 of Kerry Anderson now trying to make time on the outside. Yellow flag is in the air as the cars scatter around the number 70 of Jeff Morgan, who is spun around in the 4th-turn. All the drivers do a nice job of avoiding the 70. We also have a car stalled off over the 4-turn. That'll put us back to a realignment. And we are ready to restart with 22 laps down in tonight's main event for our limited sportsman. It is Quinn and Weber on the front row, bring them down. Green flag is in the air as they race side by side down the front stretch into turn 1. Quinn to the inside, Weber to the outside as they battle for the lead. It's a slight lead for Dennis Quinn in the 06. As he works the inside, he has Mike Mayetta right at his back bumper. Then at the outside, cars slide just a little bit. Phil Weber does a nice job of moving out into the 3rd groove and right back into the 2nd groove. But he is having a tough job holding off the challengers on the inside as Mike Mayetta Jr. takes over 2nd place. He has a strong challenge now from the 54 of Rick Frenette. Rick Frenette challenging on the inside, trying to take over 2nd place. Mayetta goes wide, and 2nd place belongs to the 54, Rick Frenette. Tom Bragg makes a move to the inside, as does Terry Brown. Rick Frenette now, keep your eyes on the 54 as he dives to the outside of the 06. Trying to make his way to that front spot. Has to tuck back in, looks to the outside again down the front stretch. Dennis Quinn to the inside, Rick Furnett to the outside. Here comes Tom Bragg up the inside in the 48. Furnett fighting back on the outside. Bragg has to back out of it just a little bit. Tight battle now for third as Mayetta works to the outside of the 48. Again, cars sideways. It's a spin by Phil Weber as he tangles with the 27 above Appleton. There's all the cars do a nice job of staying in the way. 2 laps to go, says flagman Eddie Walsh. 2 laps to go. Cars tangle in the 4 turn as Billy Thompson and the 8 of Joey Eastman tangle, but they get free also. Drivers doing an amazing job of keeping the cars going. Tight battle up front. White flag is in the air. The 06 of Dennis Quinn with a strong challenge now from Rick Furnett in the 54. Then a battle for third with Bragg on the inside, Mayetta to the outside. White flag in the air. Coming onto a slower car now. Dennis Quinn has got to decide which way to go. He's got the 8 in front of him, but the checkered flag is in the air. Dennis Quinn hangs on as he takes a slim lead and a win over the 54 Rick Furnett. And third place Tom Bragg. Then comes Mike Mayetta in the 3 and Terry Brown in the 44 for your top 5 in tonight's Limited Sportsman main event. We will be going trackside in just a few moments for a chance to meet the winner of tonight's Limited Sportsman main event.
Dennis, congratulations.
Thank you.
This is kind of been a long time coming for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, 3 years.
You started just 3 years ago. This is your first career feature win, and this one didn't get handed to you by any means.
No, not at all.
You're from Scarborough. How old are you now, Dennis?
I'm 19.
And have you enjoyed the sport of auto racing as much as you thought you might when you first got involved with this?
Oh, yeah.
This has got to make the bittersweet victory, is it not?
Yeah.
Well, we certainly congratulate you on it. Here is your first place trophy from Rose McMullen. We congratulate you on a fine job tonight, Dennis, and we welcome you back into Victory Lane, we hope, many more times.
Yeah, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a nice round of applause for Dennis Quinn. Bruce.
Thank you, Andy. On the outside in the second row, the number 4 is driven by Bobby Babb out of Wyndham. On the inside, the 32 is Joe Bowser. The number 1 is Kenny Lund. The 56 is driven by Andy Liu. Flagman Eddie Walsh says we are ready to start tonight's late model sportsman main event as the Beretta from Pape Chevrolet moves down infield pit road. Flagman Eddie Walsh says we're waiting for a start out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air as Kurt Gary jumps into a quick lead over Gary Pulsifer. Outside lane, Bobby Babb working to make the outside groove work right off quick as he works to the outside of the 66 of Jim Gary. Kenny Lund also, and the 85 of Ricky Harrison. The race now is for second place with Pulsifer on the inside, Bobby Babb to the outside. They race side by side down to the 3 turn. Babb with a slight advantage down in through the 3 turn. Pulsifer tries to fight back on the inside, but Babb takes over the second place as they negotiate the front stretch. Bobby Babb just takes over second as the yellow flag comes out. The number 11. Tonight, we believe it's John McMullen behind the wheel, spun at the exit of the infield pit road, sitting in a dangerous position, and Flagman Eddie Walsh elects to put the cars under caution. With 2 laps down in tonight's 35-lap feature event. On the front row, the 88 is Kurt Gary. The number 4, Bobby Babb out of Wyndham. Flagman Eddie Walsh says he wants a nice even start out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air. It's a side-by-side battle at the stripe, side-by-side down into turn 1. Babb looking to work the outside as he takes a slight advantage out of turn 2 down the backstretch. Gary looks to fight back down into the 3 turn. Still a slight advantage, about a fender ahead by Bobby Babb as he negotiates the 4 turn. Still with about a fender up on the 88. Tight battle as Gary battles back, but Babb now with about a half a car length down the backstretch. 3/4 of a car down into the 3 turn. Gary works to fight back on the inside. Babb about a car, just about his car by as they negotiate the front stretch to turn 1, but Gary fights back on the inside. Babb once again battling the outside with about a half a car length lead on the 88 of Kurt Gary. Kurt Gary battles back on the inside, retakes the lead now by about a half a car length. Babb has to reset himself down into the one turn. Battles back to the outside of Kurt Gary in the 88. The youngster is obviously not going to give up the lead easily. Babb has to reset again. The outside groove, kind of difficult to stay out there. He'll work back to the back end of the 88, perhaps cool the tires just a little bit and then make another run. Meanwhile, the top two cars will put some distance on Gary Pulsifer in the 27. Then comes Jim Gary and Ricky Harrison for your top five. Kurt Gary, the youngster out of Limerick, in the Larry Netto prepared late model Sportsman number 88, an 85 Camaro. The youngster has been impressive in his short late model Sportsman career thus far. As we mentioned earlier, it's his dad in the number 66, a veteran late model Sportsman driver. And it looks as though young Kurt Gary is going to be a youngster to be contended with. Bobby Babb now tries to put the pressure to the back bumper of the 88, but thus far 88 has maintained his slim lead over the older of the two Babb brothers in the race here tonight. Bobby Babb in the number 4, and younger brother Barry, who is opening day winner, is in the 0, who is momentarily boxed in with no place to go right now but to follow the 33 of Mike Johnson. Bobby Randall works the outside now as he begins to make ground, looking to the outside of the 32 of Joe Bowser down into the 3 turn. Racing to the outside of the 32 is the multi-year champion out of Sanford, Bobby Randall, as he works side by side now down the front stretch, a slight advantage into the 1 turn as he's trying desperately to make his way to the front. Bobby Randall with a move now on the outside of the 32, takes over. The 6th place position now is in the hands of Bob Randall. Bob Randall, always a hard charger and a car to watch, always coming up from the rear of the pack, as he is usually one of the high point men. Always a car to watch, along with some of the other strong runners like Paul Johnson, who's back in the pack. Bobby Libby, also a long way to go, a lot of ground to make up. Still Kurt Gary as he maintains a 3 or 4 car length lead now over Bobby Babb in the number 4. And Babb has probably a 12 or 14 car length lead over the 27 of Gary Pulsifer. On the outside once again, it is the 91 of Bobby Randall as he's right out over the stripe now as he works to the outside of the 85 of Ricky Harrison and the 66 of Jim Gary. Down into the 3 turn, it is a challenge on the outside once again by the 91 of Bobby Randall as he's side by side with Jim Gary. Takes a slight advantage as they negotiate the 1 turn. Keep your eyes on the 91 of Bobby Randall. We're coming to the halfway point, says flagman Eddie Walsh with a cross-checkered flags. The cars come down the front stretch. They see the cross-checkered flags knowing it's halfway mark. 17 down, yellow flag flies as this will put the late models under caution once again. We will have a quick realignment. Flagman Eddie Walsh says the lineup is correct and we are ready to restart with 17 laps down in tonight's 35-lap late model Sportsman feature event. And on the front row, Kurt Gary and Barry Babb. Flagman Eddie Walsh says he wants a nice even start, waiting for the gentleman to line up out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air, and it's a slight advantage at the start-finish line by Kurt Gary as Bobby Babb works to the outside of the 88. Down the backstretch, Gary with about a half a car length lead. Coming to the halfway point now as we reverted back to the last lap run into the green. Halfway, still a side-by-side battle. Keep your eyes on the 91 of Bob Randall as he has worked his way all the way to 3rd now as he negotiates the outside lane out and around the 27 of Gary Pulsifer. Right to his back bumper is the hard-charging Ricky Harrison in the 87. Kurt Gary, Bobby Babb, Bob Randall, Gary Pulsifer in a side-by-side battle with Ricky Harrison. Then comes Jim Gary and Bobby Libby. Glenn Cusack working the outside. Bob Randall on the move now as he's closed the gap considerably as he races to the back bumper of the number 4 of Bobby Babb. Randall looks to the outside of the number 4 now as they negotiate the 1 and 2 turn, looking to see if he can perhaps make that outside groove work once again. Randall right at the right rear of the number 4. Looks once again to race to the outside of the number 4 as they enter the 1 turn. So far, Bobby Babb has been able to hold him off. Randall once again down the backstretch, looks to the outside as they approach turn 3. Babb to the inside, Randall to the outside. As they begin to dice for position, that opens things up a little bit for Kurt Gary. Still Babb, your second place car. Randall to his outside, looking for room on the outside as they race into turn 3. Randall once again will mount a challenge for that second spot. Bob Randall now to the outside of the number 4 as he takes a slight advantage down into the 3 turn. Babb will battle back on the inside. Side by side they negotiate turn 4 in the front stretch. Slight advantage as they head to turn 1 by Bobby Randall in the 91. Babb fights back on the inside. But it's Randall out of the 2 turn down the backstretch taking over second place. Meanwhile up front, Kurt Gary has put some distance on the second and third place cars. Bobby Randall now sets his sights on the 88 of Kurt Gary as he begins to put a little distance on the number 4, and Ford has considerable distance on the 4th place competitor, Gary Pulsifer, and in 5th place, Jim Gary. Leaders setting a strong pace here tonight, evidenced by the distance they put on the rest of the pack. A lot of cars boxed in, Barry Babb among them. Paul Johnson already a feature winner. Both he and Barry Babb have won features here tonight, here this year, and having difficulty finding racing room tonight as they are better than a quarter of a track behind your leader, Kurt Gary. Flagman Eddie Waltz says next time by there'll be 5 laps to go. Five laps to go now for the late model sportsman competitors. Top 3 cars have stretched out a lead, and the battle shaping up is at 4th position with Gary Pulsifer trying to hold off the charge of Kurt Gary, Bobby Harrison, Mike Johnson, and now Bobby Libby in the 34. Bobby Randall gaining a little ground now on the 88 of Kurt Gary. Flagman Eddie Waltz says next time by it'll be just 2 laps to go. Your leader, Kurt Gary, looking to collect a late model feature early in the 1990 season. The youngster collected up his first feature in his young career last year. White flag is in the air now as Randall continues to close the gap. But just 1 lap to go. He's got a lot of ground to cover. And Kurt Gary appears to be in command of this one. The top 3 cars just continue to put distance on the rest of the field. The checkered flag is in the air for the youngster from Limerick, collecting the late model sportsman feature tonight here on Memorial Day weekend. A fine run by young Kurt Gary out of Limerick as he defeats a strong field of late models. As young Kurt Gary comes down to collect up the checkered flag and make his parade lap, a nice round of applause to send him off on that parade lap. Kurt Gary, 19-year-old racer from Limerick, Maine, driving the Larry Netto prepared Camaro, collecting, I believe, his second feature of his young career. And that's a team to watch. I know that's another one of our sponsor wanted teams also. And Kurt Gary coasts down to return the colors to Flagman Eddie Walsh. We will be going trackside in just a moment to have a chat with the winner of tonight's late model sportsman feature.
Kurt, come on over here. Congratulations to you.
Thanks a lot.
You ran the socks off of them tonight, didn't you?
Tried to.
You had some veterans breathing down your neck. Bobby Babb started outside of you a couple of times, took a couple of shots to get around you, but you held them off. What's going on with the car tonight?
Well, actually, it's running perfect. Couldn't ask for any better.
It seems to be running perfect. Bob Randall was closing down on it. Could you see him coming from behind you?
I saw him. I stepped on it.
Kurt, tonight's late model Sportsman Feature race is in tribute to the deceased officials of the Maine State Stock Car Racing Association. Bob Randall, who finished second behind you, his name is already on that plaque. So is Willie Elliott, Bob Gahan, and a host of other names in that plaque. Your name will also be added to that, and that's got to be an honor for you as well.
Yes, it is.
Kurt, we have the first place trophy for you here this evening to add to your collection of many wins that we expect you to be taking in the future.
I hope so, too.
Kurt, we love your sense of humor. We wish you the best of luck. Ladies and gentlemen, a nice round of applause for Kurt Gary. Bruce.
Thank you, Andy. Next on the agenda, as you can see at turns 3 and 4, is the Wildcats. It will be Team B tonight, competing in the Wildcat feature. On the front line in the 34, it's Craig Bernier. In the 69, it's Tom Lovejoy. In the 9, it is Dick Dion. Number 5 is driven by Wayne Marshall. 64 is Anthony Graffam. 4 is Michael Westcott. 99, Troy Leach. 75, Richard Stubbs. 13, Steve Clough. 19, Jim Lavoie. 56 is Jim Shaw. 8, Chris Brown. 17, Jim Hyde Sr. 20, Pete Prout. The 60, Wayne Whitten. The 54 is Alvin Legia. The 45, Jeffrey Greenstreet. We're looking for green flag, and we have it out of turn 4. The 69 jumps into a quick lead over the 34. The 69 driven by Tom Lovejoy. The 34 is driven by Craig Bernier as they battle down the backstretch. Cars scattered in the one turn, and we'll see if that car can refire, and it does. Everybody continues underway, and your leader is the 69, Tom Lovejoy, being pursued by Craig Bernier in the 34. Then comes the 4 of Michael Westcott for your top 3. Remaining cars back in the field. Wayne Whitten is in the 60. Robert Williams in the 43. 14 is driven by Wayne Spencer. The 16 is Jason Murphy. The 47 is Michael Storer. The 15, Jonathan Rousel. 62 is Alan Gassett. Your leader is now your number 34 car. Cars tangle in the 2-turn as a car gets spun around, and that cars are able to keep going, keeps us under green for the moment. We still have 34 and 69 at the one car decided he wouldn't bother with the infield pit road. He'd just take it right up over the sandbank and across the lawn, and anything goes in this Wildcat division. We told you it'd be a little different than what you'd seen. Sometimes they find the short way around is through the infield. About a 3-way battle now at the front as the cars run way up high. The 34 still your leader. That is Craig Bernier as he negotiates the backstretch. Being pursued by the 69. That is Tom Lovejoy. They negotiate the 4-turn. Looking for racing room now. The 69 and the 34 kind of boxed in as they approach slower cars. The 34 is doing battle with several slower cars. Hangs on to the lead. 13 is listed now as your leader as he got by the 34. 13 is in the lead. That is Steve Clough, followed by Craig Bernier in the 34. Cars tangle in the 1 and 2 turn, but they get going again. Keeps us under green. Your leader is the number 13. That's Steve Clough, followed by Craig Bernier in the 34. Bernier retakes the lead down the front stretch. So 34 back in the lead. That's Craig Bernier. Followed closely by Steve Clough in the 13. Clough tries to challenge to the inside down the back stretch, and he retakes the lead into the 3 turn. Right at his back bumper is Craig Bernier in the 34. 13 and 34 swap the lead back and forth. 13 once again your leader, and 34 is in second. Gets out of shape and has to slow down, take it in on the speed bumps. 13 still your leader. 34 battling back, trying to regain a solid second place, and he does down the backstretch. The top 2 cars continue to be the 13 driven by Steve Clough and the 34 driven by Craig Bernier. Last several cars on the lineup. We have the 44 driven by Charles Ward. The 3 is Glenn Bradbury. The 29, James Fitz. The 21 is Richard Humphrey. And we're ready to restart the B team for their first feature event of the 1990 season, and hope and pray that everyone will be able to get started. Red flag comes right back out again as one of the cars, 2 of the cars are unable to restart, and Flagman Eddie Walsh brings them right back to a restart. Green flag is in the air once again to restart the B team of the Wildcats. About 6 or 7 wide out of the 4 turn down the backstretch. We'll see if they can negotiate that. The leader is still number 13. That is Steve Clough, your leader in number 13. Then comes the 45. 45 is driven by Jeff Greenstreet. Cars tangle in the 3 and 4 turn. That leaves 1 car sitting, and we'll hope that he can refire that car, and he does. That's the 34 of Craig Bernier. Gets the car refired and spun around and back on the track once again, and your leader is still number 13 as he negotiates the 1 turn. Second place is held by number 45. That is Jeff Greenstreet, as he is in pursuit of Steve Clough in the number 13. Cars kind of get stretched out now, and it allows the drivers to actually do a little more racing as the cars thin out just a bit. Number 2 on the move is Jim Cranlick, making up a lot of ground, as is the number 1 of Brian Hanscom, Wildcat champion for 1989, down the front stretch in the number 1. Car to watch as he's looking to make up a lot of ground here, as he has nearly half a lap to make up as he's in pursuit of those lead cars. Way up in the 3rd groove. You keep your eyes on the number 1 of Brian Hanscom out of Westbrook, sponsored by Thunder 107, your high point man from the 1989 season, with a lot of ground to make up as he is in pursuit of now the number 45, your leader, as he squeezes by the 13 of Steve Clough. That is Jeff Greenstreet behind the wheel of the number 45. They swap positions once again, and it is again Clough taking over the lead in the number 13 as he gets back by the 45. Battling for positions.
13 working the outside groove now, and a lot of pressure from the 45 as they negotiate the front stretch into the one turn. 45 pulls right up to the back bumper of Clough in the 13. Gets a little out of shape, does a nice job of straightening the car out as he comes out of the four turn. Still Clough and Greenstreet, your front two. Caution flag, and now the red flag comes out once again as cars spin between the 1 and 2 turn. Flagman Eddie Walsh puts them under red to get those cars refired. It looks like they are able to do so. Green flag is in the air once again, and we're looking to restart. And 13, it gets off to a slow start. 87 jumps out into a quick lead. Here comes the number 1. We told you to watch Brian Hanscom, defending champion out of Westbrook, Maine. Be 2 laps to go this time by. It's going to be a challenge from the defending champion in the number 1 as he's way out in the 3rd and 4th groove. He's made up a lot of ground, and cars spin. The 87 spins in the 2 turn. 45-13, and here comes Brian Hanscom in the number 1 as they battle. Also Craig Bernier back into the thick of things in the 34. Cars tangle between the 3 and 4 turn. The 8 gets out of shape, turns it around one way, back again as he is trying to move out of the way of the oncoming cars. White flag is in the air. 13, your leader. 45 is in second place. It's a race as 45 races to the back bumper of the 13. But 13 is going to hold him off and collect the first feature event for Team B of the Wildcats. That is Steve Clough collecting the first win of the 1990 season for the B team. Second place was the number 45 of Jeffrey Greenstreet. And then came the defending champion of the Wildcats, Brian Hanscom, in the number 1, worked his way up to 3rd for the first outing for the B team. We will be going trackside in just a moment for a chance to meet tonight's Wildcat feature winner in just a moment.
Steve, congratulations.
Thank you.
This is not a complete, you are not a complete stranger to victory lane, are you, in this type of race?
Not really. No, we've had some pretty good luck lately.
Well, lately, I think a few years ago, if I remember, in a race of similar nature, except 300 laps, the Enduro 300, weren't you a winner in one of those?
Sure was.
Well, it looks like it's paying off well for you. Do you enjoy the Wildcat racing a few times a year?
Sure do. It's a lot of fun. You know, it's cheap, economical racing, and we all have a good time at it.
Tell us a little bit about how much you have into the car financially.
Well, I had the car given to me, and then last year when I came out, I blew the engine, and I went shopping around, found another junkyard engine. I don't know, probably $200 or $300.
And tonight you just win $100 for this, so a few more of these and you're going to have it paid for.
That's sure, that's sure.
Well, we wish you the best of luck in the future, Steve, and we congratulate you on your efforts here tonight.
Great, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Steve Clough. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. From my family to yours, we appreciate you being here, and we hope you'll join us again next Saturday night. Bruce?
Thank you, Andy. Once again, we'll remind you, fans, that you are welcome in just a few moments to come out on the Speedway and have a chance to meet a number of the competitors. As you can see, a number of them will bring their cars out onto the front stretch.